Hello, we are at Agileadria 2015. My name is Marko Keba, and I have the privilege to be talking to Mary and Tom Poppendieck. Welcome.
It's really good to be here.
I'm glad to be here, Marko.
Okay, so the topic of your discussion today, and somehow the topic of maybe today's interview, I would like to start off with what are actually the news in the software development arena, and what does the world of software development look like today?
We can go back to 2004 when we wrote about and gave talks about a very simple question. How long does it take if you have a change to make that only requires changing one line of code to put that into production? In 2010, Jez Humble told us that he was so frustrated that he and his colleagues at ThoughtWorks developed the whole concept of continuous delivery, published a book about it.
So that it takes months to deploy a single line of code got changed. And now Jez wanted to create an environment and a process whereby you could take and put a change in safely, well-tested change within a day. And beyond that, similar time frame, Fred George, who talks about microservices, was telling us a few months ago. He heard us in 2004, and he was so frustrated because I said, well, how long does it take to go from a feature problem, customer problem, to getting it deployed in production? And he said, I don't have control over that, so I don't want to talk about it. And now he says, now I have control. How does he have control? Well, there's a lot of technical advances, but you do have to credit the cloud environment with some of it. Because if you can go to the cloud, you can go to an infrastructure that allows you to do a lot of interesting things. The other thing you have to credit is basically web-based software. If you are deploying to a website or to a mobile phone, any kind of app, you're deploying into an environment where customers expect changes all the time. They expect you to be doing new things. If you're a bank and you have a mobile app and Google or Apple change the operating system, you have to respond. You have to change your app to deal with the changes. And you have to do it relatively fast, otherwise you lose a whole bunch of customers. If you take a look at what's going on in the mobile world, more and more people are using mobile devices, and they're using them to browse. Pretty soon they'll be using them to purchase. So anybody in that space of mobile and web that doesn't know how to do really rapid change and delivery into production safely is pretty far behind the times. If you're in software as a service, same thing. When you get to banks, insurance companies, bigger companies like that have a long history of an IT organization that has basically managed both the hardware and the software. They have a history of big projects, long deploy times, and now if you take a look at the vice presidents of the line businesses in a bank or in an insurance company, they don't have the patience anymore to wait for the IT department to deliver over a year and a half, or even half a year. So they have access now to a cloud. They have access to capability to deploy rapidly into a cloud, as long as you start out with a architecture that allows you to safely deploy independent small pieces, independent things rapidly. And it's that, how do I safely deploy, how do I decouple my things, my architecture, so that I can take this one problem, this problem area, I can make a change to it, and I can deploy it fast. If you look at my mobile phone, that's what an app is. It's a little bit of code. Nothing else on my phone cares if one of the apps is updated. None of the other apps care, nothing else cares. That app all by itself can be changed, and can be changed any day of the week that somebody wants to do it. We see that happening in web-based stuff and any sort of thing that deals with interaction with customers that are out there interacting on the web. And if companies can't do that now, they can't make rapid changes to respond to competition, to try out new ideas, that sort of thing, they're pretty far behind the curve as far as it goes. You say, well, I'm a bank, we have to be careful. You might be a bank, but if you don't have a mobile front end, you're in trouble. So even the old businesses that have been around and been sort of centered on slow, careful processes have got to figure out how to respond fast, because a lot of stuff gets threatened if they stick to the way that they used to think about software.
Meaning an old architecture in a company that is not able to decouple stuff.
Or
is
even a
successful
centralized
to change.
database. Think about that. Centralized database couples every single thing that uses it. Can't change the schema without breaking every app that depends on the database. Today, data structures are not so centralized.
Now, you might think that a cell phone app is a kind of a trivial piece of software, but the same concepts are being applied in avionics. Fighter jets, commercial airplanes is a platform app architecture where any of the pieces can be updated independently of the other pieces. The platform itself can be updated, and generally the apps will continue to run on it or need minor updates. So this is not just for cell phones. This is for serious stuff where people's lives are at stake. If you're in a context where the delivery is software as a service, if you're in a context where the delivery is via web, then
Or app.
or via an app, then even that is slow. For many kinds of software today, delivery is not measured in 2-week increments. Delivery is measured in 2-hour increments or even 2-minute increments. A company like Amazon deploys software every 11 seconds on the average. That is fast. Yes, they have many teams, and one of them deploys every 11 seconds. What are they doing with all of these deploys? They're learning. They're doing experiments. They're trying out different options to see how the customer base responds. They have it fully automated so they can measure the response to each of their experiments and see which works better, which one doesn't work. If it doesn't work, they take it out. If it does work, they do more in that direction. But they're constantly doing experiments to find out what is the best solution to the problem that we're addressing now.
So this
And-
isn't just like Amazon. This is Spotify in Stockholm. This is a little tiny SA Home Loans in Durban in South Africa. These are tons of companies we see all around the world saying, this rapid delivery thing, this is what makes us competitive. And they're learning how to put the technology in place so that they can deliver safely and rapidly.
And it's not just delivery, it's learning. The product managers, research has shown, are wrong half the time. Half of the features they ask for turn out to be the wrong ones. They don't get used. They don't have the impact that they expected. But with this rapid delivery capability, they can do experiments. They can do A/B tests. They can find out, I think this is going to make a difference. How can we quickly test it out and find out? And if it does, then we can invest in doing a robust implementation. And if it doesn't, we can go on and try something else.
Is that the learning that you were mentioning?
That's the learning,
Okay.
absolutely. So it's not just delivery, it is the entire end-to-end process from concept all the way through delivery. You find out which of the possibilities are the most promising by trying experiments. The ones that are promising, you then invest more in to make them more robust, more general, and more solid. But not until you've already done the experiment that verifies that it actually makes a difference to your customers and to your business.
So why would it be that still some companies are struggling with understanding what you were saying, doing the right things first and then using the latest technology to get the advantage that it's providing actually to the...
The companies that are not struggling, the kind of companies I have run into since I've come to Slovenia and Croatia, are a company that's going to start up a mobile app. One of the better ideas of mobile apps I've run into in a few years has a really good chance of actually creating a good business out of it. And he understands that he needs to have a minimum viable product, start learning, do rapid deployments, and have really good design in the front. or somebody that I ran into last night who's doing here in Croatia, and he's doing micropayments, creating little tiny invoices for people who do cash transactions. About 10 people in his company, been around for a couple of years. And he understands that the important thing is how do I try new things, gradually increase the capabilities of my software, expand to different countries because he's got a lot of localization to do. How do I do that? Whoa, he had to go to Egypt. That was a different problem. And how do I do these things, and how do I run my business with my small number of people to figure out and learn how to go into these new markets, how to add these new features. So there are plenty of people around this area that really need to figure out what are the basic technologies we can bring to bear on these problems. As those kinds of businesses learn, a few of the older businesses, the ones that want to survive, are going to say, you know, if we start using some of these techniques, we can be more rapid response, we can learn more, we can be more competitive, we can offer better insurance products, we can offer better banking products, and that probably would put us on the front end of the competition. And where we see companies in those industries be successful are the ones that have the smart leaders who realize that to be responsive in the marketplace, they have got to put in place these existing software techniques and technologies that allow rapid response and rapid testing of ideas. And there's many ways that you can do it, but I think people need to start looking deeply into the technical concepts behind automation, automated testing, automated deployment, A/B testing, canary releasing, how do I test if I want to deploy this little thing that's not going to break anything in the rest of the code. There's lots and lots of work being done in that areas, and that's the kind of work people need to be looking into, so that here in this area, people can start being able to start up these new businesses and be really responsive and learn. And so I would say software should start moving towards these really, you might call them new, but actually they're maybe 5 years old. New ways to think about how do I rapidly deploy, especially in a mobile environment, in a web environment, or how if I have to be in my own home environment, my own big environment, how can I decouple things so that I can do small changes safely and quickly.
Okay. I mean, you've done many workshops with development teams and management teams in large companies. Would there be any kind of pattern that you have recognized on people struggling on some specific way or something?
Typically, the worst thing I see is developers who have no feedback loop. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, or somebody tells me what to do. I don't know if it's right or wrong until months later. There's no feedback loop. So we focus on the developers and their world, their life, their ability to do good work. And where we see the sort of biggest problematic pattern is where there's no way for developers to get feedback that says, yes, what you just did works, no, what you just did doesn't.
Okay.
Tom?
Companies have attempted to gain an advantage by adopting Agile, often Scrum, and it almost never works. They never get anywhere near the benefit that they expect. And the reason is that Agile is about developing software. Somebody tells the team what to do, and they're supposed to use an Agile approach to do it. But as Mary said, they don't get feedback about whether it's the right thing, and they don't get to contribute to deciding what's worth doing in terms of the technical feasibility. They don't get to talk to customers to really understand the problems that they are struggling with. And as a result, most of what they develop is useless. Customers choose not to use it. You've totally wasted their time. It's hard to be more disrespectful and to insist that people invest their time and energy in something that has no value to anybody when they're done.
It's not really motivating, huh?
It's not motivating.
Obviously not.
The most valuable thing. In fact, today, there's a lot of capital sloshing around our financial systems, far more than we need. capital is not short in supply. What is short in supply is the passion and the energy and the dedication of smart, creative people. And when you waste it, you are wasting the most valuable thing that we have in our economy today. That is serious.
Wasting the talent of
Wasting
people
the
doing
talent
the
of
job.
people. If you don't have talent, I just read an article this morning about the Internet of Things. The Internet of Things is the next big thing according to all the pundits. And they said that the king is developers. If a company is trying to become dominant in the Internet of Things, and companies like IBM and General Electric and others are working very hard to become the dominant suppliers in the Internet of Things, they will fail unless they attract the majority or a large fraction of the development community. Without developers to populate the platform with apps that will interact and provide value to the end customers, the platform has no value. So the developers and their preferences are the most important aspect.
Okay, in your talk, I remember when you were talking about scaling Agile, you mentioned that the product owner is the worst role there is.
Yes.
Why is that so?
Okay, so the product owner is a Scrum concept, which is team-facing and basically a sort of mini team micromanager, tells the team what to do. Before Agile, the technical team was expected to understand the problem and figure out how to solve it. Now there's this intermediary person that is telling the team what to do, and that way the team will never be able to make a mistake. You know, you can just always have that one person be responsible for the mistake. So you've got somebody writing stories for the team, which means designing the details of the code, that doesn't have a technical background. That doesn't have a background in how to think about the technology that underlies what they're trying to do. That would be like having somebody who can write a spreadsheet designing the graphics interface that's the user interface. When you want a really cool user interface, you want a designer to design it. When you want a really cool bunch of software, you want a software engineer to design it. And if you have this person who tells the team what to do, they're doing the designer. What's their background? Are they really the ones you want designing the detail of your code? Can one person get it right? Probably not. Actually, all of the literature says certainly not. If you don't draw on the smart, intelligent capability of the various people in the team, you're not going to get the right answer. Now, there is this role called product manager, and that's been around for a long time. And the product manager is a customer-facing person that brings the customer problems to a team to solve. That's a good idea. But paired with a tech lead and perhaps a design lead if there's user interaction, that triumvirate of people or pair of people can create a strategy for a product. And we don't have any of that concept of a balanced technical market focus when we accept the Scrum role of product owner. It's this person who basically makes all the decisions, does all the analysis, figures everything out, tells the team, writes it all down, tells the team what to do. That's just plain a bad role. The proper role is a product manager, and you can read lots of literature, it's been around for way longer than Agile development, on what product managers do. They understand customers and bring problems to teams and let the technical team solve the problems. They help the team understand what means to be successful and how you can measure success, and help let the team figure out what's the technical solution to that, with a good tech lead sort of to balance out the overall strategy. And so having this person who's giving amateur design, really, to the team is not very useful. And it's also created a sort of somebody who dishes out assignments to people and means that the team no longer owns the responsibility or the challenge or the charter to solve problems. They're not engineers anymore. They're just like order takers. And I'm sorry, but I don't envision software engineering as an order-taking profession.
Dan Pink characterizes self-motivation as the most important factor in high performance. If you want good results, you want self-motivated people, people that really care. Now, the factors that Pink identifies as critical to self-motivation are three: autonomy, that people get to decide how to approach a problem; mastery, that they have the skill, that they develop skill, that they improve their skills; and purpose, a why, a reason why they care about something. And all three factors have to be present.
I mean, aren't they like inhibit the autonomy and mastery in talking about Scrum in the framework itself? Is just the purpose that is somehow missing, and is stuff that product owner should be bringing to the team via the backlog, the purpose of what we are doing and why we are doing it.
How does the team have autonomy if the product owner tells them what to do?
Oh, you mean the backlog that the Scrum is saying that the
Backlog, that's another one of the worst
orders
ideas Scrum ever visited on the software development world.
So what I understand that you're saying is that you said the product manager is bringing problems that the customer has to the developers that are supposed to solve those problems.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that Scrum has said that this is going to happen by way of user stories that are ordered in a backlog is not the right way to present the
user
problems.
stories are another word for requirements. They're just another form of requirements. And when you have a backlog, means you get a pile of them. Okay, we haven't really changed, let's create a pile of requirements. We've just given them new names. Backlog of stories is no different than pile of requirements. And that's not the right way to develop software. The right way to develop software is with rapid feedback loops, where the technical team and the product person understand what's the customer want, how can we check that this is the right thing, and have a constant feedback loop based on what really would success look like. How would we know that we are making the customers happy? Is it more sales? Is it more revenue? Is it more conversions to paying customers? Is it more click-throughs? Is it more time on site? There's lots of measurements that you can use to measure whether or not your experiments are getting you the right thing. And it's customer understanding and how do I drive metrics in the right direction that we should be challenging teams with, not do this story.
A story done well is not written. A story done well is a conversation. The conversation is about a topic. The conversation produces understanding shared between those that are going to implement something to satisfy that goal, those that understand the people, those that are skilled in design, and they have a conversation. Some of the output of the conversation will be sketches of what it's going to look like. Some of the output of the conversation will be automated tests that will verify that what we delivered is what we agreed to, but it's not written down as text. It's written down as automated tests. It's written down wireframes, rough sketches, and all of those things except the tests are thrown away once the implementation is done. Because the only source of truth is the code itself and the tests that validate it. So it's the test suite that matters. The conversation matters. Writing stories and thinking of those as requirements is naive.
So they might not solve the problems that actually the customer has. They might, but they might not solve the problems.
Conversation is about what experiments can we do to identify.
So research shows that less than half of what product managers ask for, product owners ask for, is actually needed, useful, or going to do what they want. If you start out with less than half of what people want is actually going to be useful, then you have to have a process that rapidly feeds back, is this one right or wrong? And the here, do this, and just make it so doesn't put that feedback loop in place.
2-week iteration is much too slow to find that out.
So we started by trying to solve the problem of doing the right things, and somehow 10, 15 years later, we are still in a problem of not being sure that we are actually doing the right things,
Yeah.
as I understand what we are saying.
But now we have hope. Agile failed to solve that problem. The continuous delivery, the story mapping approaches, and so forth give us hope that we can rapidly discover and deliver rich solutions that are the right thing, because we get feedback from the customer base that we're attempting to serve quickly, rather than speculate and get, if you're really good, half or 2/3 of it wrong.
Okay. Mary and Tom, thank you very much for the interview on my
Thank you.
own and on behalf of the Agile Croatia community.
Thank you.